Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we've got a really wonderful story for you. It's about a very kind king, a giant lizard, and believe it or not, a tiny little mistake that ended up causing a huge problem. So, let's get cozy and jump right in.
You know those times when you have the best idea, you're trying to help someone or do something really nice, and then, oops, it just doesn't turn out the way you planned. It can feel pretty confusing, can't it? Well, the king in our story today knows that feeling all too well.
So our story starts a long time ago. Imagine a group of young princes, just a bunch of friends having an awesome day out in a forest. They were running around and playing for hours and hours, and pretty soon, they got really thirsty.
So, of course, they started looking for some water to drink. They looked everywhere, but all they could find was this old, dried-up well. No water at all. But when they peeked over the edge to look inside, they saw something so strange it made all of them just stop and stare.
It wasn't water at the bottom of that well, it was a lizard. But this wasn't just any lizard. This thing was so enormous, so huge, that it looked like a whole mountain was just sitting down there. Can you even picture that? A lizard as big as a mountain? They were totally amazed.
Now, even though they were a little surprised, these boys had really good hearts. They felt so sorry for this giant creature trapped all alone. So right away, they knew they had to help. They found some strong leather ropes, tied them around the lizard, and then they pulled with all of their might. But it was no use. That lizard was just way too heavy. They knew they couldn't do it by themselves, so they did the absolute smartest thing they could think of. They ran as fast as their legs could carry them to find their wonderful, wise friend, Lord Krishna, to tell him what was going on.
So Krishna came to the well and he just looked down inside. And then, without any big effort at all, he just reached his left hand down and gently touched the lizard. And in that very second, something incredible happened. The giant lizard was gone. And standing there instead was a glorious king, shining bright like the sun, wearing beautiful royal clothes and sparkling jewels.
Krishna smiled at this magnificent person. Now, Krishna already knew the whole story, but he wanted everyone else to hear it too. So he asked him, "Wow, who are you? You look so wonderful. Please tell us your story." The king bowed very low and said his name was King Nriga. That's pronounced Nriga. He explained that a very long time ago, he was famous for being one of the kindest, most generous kings who had ever lived.
And he really meant it. King Nriga said he had given away so many gifts, especially cows, that you couldn't even count them all. It would be like trying to count every single grain of sand on the whole earth, or all the stars you can see in the sky. He just loved to give. His heart was that full of kindness.
So, you're probably wondering, if he did millions and millions of good things, how on earth did he end up as a lizard in a well? Well, believe it or not, his entire huge problem started with just one single cow.
Here's what happened. One day, a cow that belonged to a very wise person wandered away from its home, and it accidentally got mixed in with all of King Nriga's cows. The king had no idea. He didn't know it belonged to someone else. And so he gave that very cow away as a gift. It was a complete accident, a total mistake.
Well, soon after, the first owner saw his cow being led away, and he shouted, "Hey, that cow is mine! It wandered off!" But the person who just got the cow as a gift said, "No, it's mine now! The king gave it to me!" And they both went right to the king, arguing over whose cow it was.
King Nriga's heart just dropped. He felt awful about his mistake. He begged them, "Please let me fix this. I'll give you 100,000 of my very best cows if you'll just please let me have this one back to make things right." But you know what? Both of them said no, and they just walked away, leaving the poor king with this mistake that he couldn't fix. So when King Nriga's life finally ended, he went to meet the great king of justice, Yamaraja. And Yamaraja looked at the king's life and saw all the millions of wonderful, good things he did. But he also saw that one little mistake that was never fixed. So he gave the king a choice. He said, "Would you like to have your reward for all your good deeds first? Or Would you like to face the consequence for your one mistake first?
King Rigga thought about it and said, I will face my punishment first. And the moment he said that, poof, he fell from the heavens and was turned into that giant lizard, stuck at the bottom of the dark, lonely well. And that's where he waited and waited, hoping one day someone would come and set him free.
So after he finished telling his whole story to Krishna, King Nriga was finally truly free. He bowed to Krishna with so much gratitude, and right then a beautiful, shining airplane appeared from the sky. He climbed inside, and it flew him up into the heavens, so he could finally enjoy the amazing reward for all his good deeds.
Once King Nirga had gone, Krishna gathered all his friends close. He knew this wasn't just a cool story. There was a really important lesson inside of it, a lesson for a lifetime, that he wanted to share with everyone.
He explained that even a super good person like King Nriga can get into big trouble from just a teeny tiny mistake. So we should always be extra careful with things that belong to other people. And if we do mess up, which we all do sometimes, we should try our absolute best to fix it. But the biggest lesson of all was to always be kind and respectful to everybody.
And then Krishna told them something amazing. He said, I always bow down and show respect to good people, and you should all do the same. He was teaching them that being humble and showing respect is one of the most important things we can do to live a happy life, and to make sure we don't make mistakes that hurt others. So, that leaves us with one last thing to think about. King Rigga's story shows us that every choice we make, even the small ones, really matters. So, what's one small, kind thing you can do for someone today? How can you add a little bit of goodness to the world? Thanks so much for listening.